What if I told you some of the most powerful comfort foods in history weren't expensive medicines or complicated recipes, but simple, traditional soups? Long before modern supplements and processed health drinks existed, families around the world relied on hot broths, herbs, garlic, vegetables, spices, and slow-cooked ingredients to recover during cold seasons, exhaustion, and difficult times. And the strange part is, many of these soups are now almost forgotten outside their home cultures. Some focus on warmth and digestion. Others use fermented ingredients, garlic, collagen-rich broth, or nutrient-dense herbs passed down for generations. Today, we're uncovering 10 forgotten soups, traditionally valued for comfort, nourishment, and wellness support, and why people around the world are still bringing them back today. Number 1. Avgolemono. Avgolemono is a traditional Greek soup made from chicken broth, rice or orzo, egg, and lemon. At first glance, the ingredients sound simple, but together they create one of the most comforting and nourishing soups in Mediterranean cooking. What makes Avgolemono especially unique is the creamy texture created without heavy cream. Eggs are carefully blended into the hot broth, producing a rich, silky consistency, while lemon adds brightness and freshness at the same time. Traditionally, the soup became strongly associated with comfort during cold weather and recovery periods because it combines warmth, hydration, protein, and citrus in one meal. Another advantage is digestibility. The light broth and soft ingredients make the soup feel filling without becoming overly heavy. Chicken broth also contributes deep flavor and long-standing cultural associations with comfort food across many societies. Today, Avgolemono remains one of the most famous traditional Greek soups because of its balance between richness and freshness. And that's what makes Avgolemono powerful. It transforms a few simple ingredients into a deeply comforting soup connected to generations of Mediterranean food traditions. Number 2. Canh Gà Lá Giang. Canh Gà Lá Giang is a traditional Vietnamese sour chicken soup known for its bright herbal flavor and deeply comforting broth. The soup uses lá giang leaves, which naturally create a tart citrus-like taste without needing lemon or vinegar. What makes the soup especially fascinating is the balance between richness and freshness. Tender chicken provides warmth and protein, while the sour herbal leaves keep the broth light and refreshing instead of heavy. Traditionally, soups like this became important in hot, humid climates because they provided hydration and nourishment without feeling overly rich during warm weather. Another advantage is the aromatic herb combination often used alongside garlic, chilies, and fresh greens, creating layers of flavor that feel both energizing and soothing at the same time. The broth itself is usually clear and simple, allowing the herbal ingredients to remain the focus. And that's what makes Canh Gà Lá Giang powerful. It turns fresh herbs, broth, and chicken into a comforting traditional soup built around balance, warmth, and bright natural flavor. Number 3. Caldo de Huesos. Caldo de Huesos, or bone broth soup, has been valued across Latin American traditions for generations because slow-cooked bones create a rich, deeply nourishing broth filled with flavor and minerals. What makes this soup especially important is the cooking process itself. Bones are simmered slowly for long periods, allowing collagen, marrow, and nutrients to release into the broth naturally. This creates a thick, comforting soup base associated with warmth and recovery. Traditionally, Caldo de Huesos became connected to periods of exhaustion, cold weather, and family meals because it was filling, affordable, and deeply satisfying. Another advantage is versatility. Vegetables, herbs, garlic, onions, and spices can all be added depending on region and family tradition, creating endless variations of the soup. The broth also stores well and can become the base for many other traditional dishes. Today, bone broth has regained popularity worldwide in wellness and cooking communities because of its rich flavor and nutritional reputation. And that's what makes Caldo de Huesos powerful. It transforms simple bones and slow cooking into one of the most comforting traditional soups ever created. Number 4. Borscht. Borscht is one of Eastern Europe's most recognizable traditional soups, famous for its deep red color, created mainly from beets. But beyond appearance, the soup became valued for warmth, nourishment, and long-lasting ingredients during harsh winters. What makes borscht especially unique is its balance of earthy sweetness and acidity. Beets create richness and color, while ingredients like cabbage, potatoes, onions, garlic, and sour cream add depth and texture. Another advantage is flexibility. Some versions include beef or bone broth, while others remain vegetarian, depending on region and availability. The soup also became deeply connected to cultural identity across Ukraine, Poland, Russia, and neighboring countries, each with its own traditional style. Today, borscht continues gaining global attention because of its strong flavor, vibrant appearance, and comforting reputation, and that's what makes borscht powerful. It turns humble root vegetables into a deeply nourishing soup tied to generations of survival, culture, and winter comfort. Number 5. Samgyetang. Samgyetang is a traditional Korean soup made from a whole young chicken stuffed with ingredients like rice, garlic, jujubes, and ginseng, then slowly simmered into a rich, nourishing broth. What makes samgyetang especially fascinating is the philosophy behind it. Traditionally, the soup became associated with restoring strength and energy, especially during periods of heat and exhaustion. The broth itself becomes deeply flavorful from the long cooking process, while garlic and ginseng add strong aromatic character that separates the soup from ordinary chicken broth dishes. Another advantage is balance. The rice cooks inside the chicken while absorbing broth and flavor, creating a filling meal rather than just a light soup. Samgyetang also reflects an important idea found in many traditional food cultures, that warming, nourishing foods can support the body during physically demanding seasons. Today, the soup remains extremely popular in Korea and wellness-focused food culture worldwide because of its comforting reputation and rich flavor. And that's what makes samgyetang powerful. It combines broth, herbs, slow cooking, and tradition into one of the most iconic restorative soups in Korean cuisine. Number 6. Harira. Harira is a traditional North African soup strongly associated with Morocco, known for its rich tomato-based broth filled with lentils, chickpeas, herbs, and warming spices. What makes harira especially valuable is how filling and balanced it feels. Instead of relying heavily on one ingredient, the soup combines legumes, vegetables, broth, and spices into a meal that provides warmth and sustained energy. Traditionally, harira became deeply connected to Ramadan because it was commonly eaten to break fasts after long hours without food or water. This gave the soup strong cultural associations with comfort, nourishment, and recovery. Another advantage is the spice profile. Cinnamon, turmeric, ginger, parsley, cilantro, and other aromatics create layers of flavor that feel warming and deeply comforting. The soup also stores well and often tastes even richer the next day as flavors continue blending together. And that's what makes harira powerful. It transforms simple pantry ingredients into a deeply nourishing traditional soup connected to hospitality, resilience, and centuries of North African culinary tradition. Number 7. Ash Reshteh. Ash Reshteh is a traditional Persian herb and noodle soup known for its thick texture, rich greens, and deeply comforting flavor. Packed with beans, herbs, noodles, and sometimes fermented dairy toppings, it became associated with nourishment and celebration across generations. What makes ash reshteh especially unique is the enormous amount of fresh herbs used in the broth. Parsley, cilantro, spinach, dill, and other greens create a soup that feels earthy, vibrant, and filling at the same time. Traditionally, the soup was often prepared during colder seasons and gatherings because it could feed large groups while remaining nutrient-dense and satisfying. Another advantage is texture. Beans and noodles make the soup hearty enough to feel like a full meal rather than just a light starter. The fermented toppings, often added near serving, also contribute tangy richness that balances the herbal flavor beautifully. Today, ash reshteh remains one of the most beloved soups in Persian cuisine because of its depth, comfort, and strong cultural connection. And that's what makes ash reshteh powerful. It combines herbs, legumes, and slow cooking into a deeply comforting soup tied to generations of Persian tradition. Number 8. Sopa de Ajo. Sopa de Ajo, or garlic soup, is one of Spain's oldest and simplest traditional comfort foods. Built around garlic, broth, bread, olive oil, and sometimes egg or paprika, the soup became famous for transforming basic ingredients into something deeply warming and satisfying. What makes Sopa de Ajo especially fascinating is how strongly flavor develops from simple ingredients. Slow-cooked garlic softens and sweetens, creating a rich aromatic broth without needing expensive components. Traditionally, the soup became associated with cold weather, hard labor, and recovery meals because it was affordable, filling, and easy to prepare in rural communities. Another advantage is digestibility. The soft bread and broth create a meal that feels comforting and gentle, while still remaining flavorful. Smoked paprika often adds depth and warmth that gives the soup its recognizable Spanish character. Today, garlic soup still survives in traditional Spanish cooking because of its simplicity and strong cultural roots. And that's what makes Sopa de Ajo powerful. It proves that even the most basic pantry ingredients can become deeply comforting when combined with time, tradition, and slow cooking. Number 9. Tinolang Manok. Tinolang Manok is a traditional Filipino chicken soup known for its clean broth, fresh ginger flavor, and nourishing simplicity. The soup usually combines chicken with leafy greens like malunggay or chili leaves, along with green papaya or chayote. What makes Tinolang Manok especially valuable is its balance between warmth and freshness. Ginger gives the broth a comforting heat, while the greens and vegetables keep the soup light and refreshing rather than overly heavy. Traditionally, the soup became strongly connected to comfort meals and home cooking because it was simple, filling, and built from ingredients commonly available in local households. Another is that the patients are less key and built from diet. The broth is light enough to feel soothing while still providing protein, vegetables, and hydration in one meal. The use of fresh greens also adds nutrients and texture that make the soup feel more complete. Today, Tinolang Manok remains one of the most beloved Filipino soups because of its simplicity and strong emotional connection to home-style comfort food. And that's what makes Tinolang Manok powerful. It transforms ginger, broth, chicken, and greens into a deeply comforting soup rooted in warmth, nourishment, and family tradition. Number 10. Soto Ayam. Soto Ayam is a traditional Indonesian chicken soup, famous for its golden turmeric-colored broth filled with noodles, shredded chicken, herbs, and aromatic spices. What makes Soto Ayam especially unique is the spice complexity inside the broth. Ingredients like turmeric, lemongrass, garlic, ginger, and lime create layers of flavor that feel warming, fresh, and energizing all at once. Traditionally, the soup became a comfort food across Indonesia because it was filling without feeling overly heavy, making it suitable for everyday meals as well as recovery foods. Another advantage is customization. Different regions and families add rice, noodles, eggs, fried shallots, or sambal, depending on local tradition and personal taste. The turmeric-rich broth also gives the soup its recognizable golden color and earthy aroma. Today, Soto Ayam remains one of Indonesia's most iconic soups because of its comforting warmth and bold aromatic character, and that's what makes Soto Ayam powerful. It combines spices, broth, herbs, and tradition into a deeply comforting soup connected to generations of Indonesian cooking culture. Modern food culture moves fast. Instant meals, packaged snacks, and processed convenience foods dominate everyday life. But traditional soups were built differently. They were designed around warmth, nourishment, digestion, hydration, herbs, and slow cooking techniques passed down for generations. And that's why many of these forgotten soups are returning today. Not because they're trendy, but because they still work as deeply comforting meals connected to real ingredients and cultural tradition. Drop a comment below and tell me which soup surprised you the most. And if you want more videos exploring forgotten foods, traditional wellness recipes, and survival cooking knowledge, make sure you subscribe because this is just the beginning.